Hi there. I'd like to talk to you about a few forgotten railroad bridges. They were giants in their day. How about we talk about the High Bridge? Yeah, which High Bridge? Even though railroads started only in 1830, there were so many high bridges built, and each was bigger than the last. There's the abandoned 1852 one in Virginia. Its engineer, C.O. Sanford, wrote, "There have been taller bridges, but not so long, and longer bridges, but not so tall. This is perhaps the biggest bridge in the world." 13 years later, the Union Army tried to burn it down to trap Lee's. The very next day, the Confederates tried to torch it after they'd retreated. Neither side succeeded in destroying the bridge, so the war ended nearby at Appomattox Courthouse. Let's go to Scotland. Some of their firths, don't ask what a firth is, have bridges over them. Like the one over the Firth of Tay. In 1879, it was just 1 year old when a cyclone hit, a hurricane, whatever the Scottish word for winds going horizontally. It fell down. Some 70 people died. God rest their souls. But they didn't die for nothing, because there were lessons learned for the next bridges. Like the one over the Firth of Forth, begun just 10 years later. It was the world's largest cantilever bridge and is still in use. By the way, the biggest cantilever bridge in the world is in Canada. The Quebec Bridge took 30 years to build because it collapsed twice during construction. 70 men died, then another 13 when the entire center span of the bridge fell. It still rests at the bottom of the river with the bridge above it. Let's get back to railroad bridges that were. Connecticut's Lyman Viaduct. It was one of the first cast iron trestle bridges in the USA. It was built in 1873 and you can still walk over it. But, and there's always a but, it's invisible! It's invisible! When the time came to upgrade the bridge, they didn't. They buried it. There's a trail that passes over it now. But very few know that under their feet in this huge fill is a bridge. Let's go to Switzerland. In 1875, Gustav Eiffel, and you know the name, built a truss railroad bridge there. It was little, just 140 feet long and maybe 16 feet high. In less than 2 decades, a flood came and washed out one of its abutments. The owners, however, didn't see any danger, so they didn't replace it. No problem, until a train fell through. 70 died and 171 were injured. Let me end with another 8th wonder of the world, the Overseas Railroad, also known as Flagler's Folly. He was a founder of Standard Oil along with Rockefeller. And if you have as much money as God, you really can build a railroad across the ocean, at least from Florida to Key West. It worked for 20 years, but the storm of the century in 1935 destroyed it and ended his dream of a trade route from Key West through the Panama Canal. So what's the practical lesson? Is it to watch the weather? Yes! But no, the lesson is that failure is part of progress. Each of these bridges learned from the ones that came before, just like the next generations are learning from those now. The question you should always ask yourself is, what have I learned? What went wrong? What went right? What should stay? What can be improved? You can also ask others to critique, including of your lessons learned. Thomas Edison figured out 10,000 ways not to make the first electric light bulb, huh? Absolute failure only happens when you give up. Alas, by the way, a couple of years ago they found another buried bridge in London. It was underneath the brickwork of a much later bridge. It was made of wrought iron, and it was the first one designed by the towering genius of British engineering, I.K. Brunel. They didn't use bolts to tie it together. Instead, it's designed like a jigsaw puzzle. Oh, wow! I'd love to hear what you think about that. Tell us, please. I am Mike for the Be More Better team. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Please comment, like, follow, subscribe if you haven't, all the rest. But always, always remember to be more better. Body, mind, and spirit. And then be even more better when you share that failure can be a learning opportunity.